I don't care about Joe Girardi anymore. Shut the fuck up.
All right. What's going on, everybody? And welcome to another NBA Draft Profile by Dr. Fantasy and the Fantasy Caveman. I'm Dr. Fantasy, and as always, here with the Fantasy Caveman. Today, we are going to be focusing on Tari Eason, a 6'8 sophomore out of LSU, 215 pounds. Last year, averaged almost 17 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, 52% from the field, shot 80% from the free throw line, which I don't always mention, but once you get into the 80%, I'll mention it. And I do think it's important to note that he did that in only 24 minutes per game on average. He actually wasn't a consistent starter at LSU. Only started, I believe it was 4 games for them. So more of a role player, which, always makes it interesting to see how they'll adjust at the next level. He was actually the SEC Sixth Man of the Year, which apparently is a actual award. You could have also made that up, and I would have also believed you. So, yeah, but Tari Eason, initial thoughts, Caveman.
All right. Well, the biggest thing that jumps out to me, you talked about the fact that he is 6'9", 7'2" wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's here's the stat. I was telling you about this stat before we started.
Okay.
He was the first Division I player since 2008 to finish with a 4.5% steal percentage, a 6.5% block percentage, and a true shooting percentage of over 60%. First player since 2008 to do all that.
Heck yeah.
He is only the 4th player in the last 15 years to finish with a steal rate greater than 3% and a usage rate higher than 25%. Do you want to take any stab? The other 3 guys are?
I absolutely do not, because they're probably random.
No. So one was Zion.
Okay.
One was Paul George.
Never heard of him. Okay.
Never heard of him. and the other was Tyreek Evans.
Oh, interesting.
So I mean, all that stat just amplifies the fact that he's going to impact the game on the defensive end of the court.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be day one. He is going to step in there and he's going to be a really solid contributor on the defensive end for whatever team he goes to. And I think that's the biggest thing with him. That's going to be his biggest strength. That's what's going to, and the guys that have this type of defensive impact, I like, because it's going to be very difficult for him to fizzle out. This kind of ability on the defensive end is going to keep him around. The other thing I want to say about him is he is his self creation, for especially for his size, is pretty solid. He knows how to expose mismatches. There is a badge on NBA 2K called Mismatch Expert. That's him. I think I've been finding doing that a lot lately. I've been looking at when we've been doing these profiles, like, okay, which badges are these guys gonna have on NBA 2K?
Well, maybe you should just make that a part of this. Is what badge should they get?
Yeah, but see, I think he's good at exposing mismatches on the offensive end as well. So, what do you got?
Well, it will be only the second time, but he will be entering my starting 5 for my guys. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. He'll be around forever. He, I think, is probably the most complete defensive player in this draft. And we talked about Johnny Davis having a lot of hustle and drive and energy, and I don't know if we've seen his defensive potential yet, because he did so much offensively at Wisconsin last year. So I think there's more to be unveiled. But as of right now, today, I think Tari Eason's going to step in and be the #1 defender in this class. There's really not many weaknesses in it, honestly. You mentioned he uses his hands really well, and he has a unique ability because sometimes with guys that steal the ball, you see them have foul trouble sometimes, and he does not fall into that category. He's quick on his feet. He switches well, and with that kind of length, he could defend probably. He might need to add a little more size to defend some bigger fives, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy that can guard 5 positions, adding another 10 to 15 pounds. So
Yeah.
I think the versatility defensively, the hustle, offensively, his greatest strength because of his speed and athleticism is in transition. But I do see some offensive upside from him. I
There's
don't think
some, yeah.
that his 3-point shooting, his mid-range, anything like that is a strength of his, but once again, he showed some flashes. It might be a guy that, depending on where he goes, if he's allowed to develop his offensive game, that you could see him take it to a different level in 2 or 3 years in the NBA. But from day one, he's going to be an impact defender. He's going to
Yep.
be, I won't be surprised as a rookie if he's defending the other team's best scorer from day one. I think he has
Hmm.
that kind of ability and upside. Weaknesses, I had ball handling. He did turn over the ball at a pretty high rate
Yeah.
at LSU, which was a pretty big concern. And it's really probably going to be, he's not going to be a primary ball handler. He's not going to be a secondary ball handler. He probably shouldn't even handle the ball that much and be making decisions, but uh, that's going to
He's
be a
not
big,
even gonna be a tertiary ball handler. Is that the
no,
test?
he's going to be the 12th ball handler on the team. But just literally play defense and then go stand in the corner. Don't get in anyone's way on offense. Nah, it's not that bad. But yeah, and I mentioned him being good in transition. He's not creative enough offensively right now to do much in the half court. He can cut and get to the basket a little bit, but
Mm.
I definitely wouldn't qualify him as being overly strong in half court. So that's basically all that I have.
Oh man, to build off your point about the turnovers, I mean it doesn't pop out as much because like that he only played about 24 minutes a game at LSU. But he committed a turnover on 13% of the plays that he was involved in,
That's
which
not
is
great.
which is a very high number. Uh and I'm scared to see how bad it would have been if he played more minutes. Uh I think this is the first time I'm going to say this when talk about a player, but I think his motor is way too high. I don't know. I think he
How
needs
dare
to.
you say that?
It's weird because like it's like usually like 95%, 99% of the time having a very high motor is a good thing. But if you really, I mean, that's part of the turnovers are part of are a part of that. I think. I mean, you when you talk about like too high of a motor, I think Russell Westbrook too high of a motor. You know, it's kind of in the similar point where it's a negative. You know, I think he just needs to slow down a bit, let the game let the game come to him, let the flow of the game, kind of dictate the motor that he needs to have. I mean that's kind of the biggest thing with me. If he's able to, kind of rein it in a little bit, and I know it's kind of hard to ask a guy to rein that in because his motor is also a big strength of his. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and that's something that I think he's gonna have to manage at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, he's not going to. I mean, it's one of, I think that's one of those things that's just in your blood personally. Like, I've never seen a guy with a high motor go to the NBA and be like, nah, I'm over that. Like, that's just, it's not in their blood. So, the one thing I will point out that I hate his shooting mechanics.
Oh
They're
yeah,
very inconsistent. He has
ugh.
different release points, especially off the ball. Like, even that wasn't a bad example. Like, he takes a second to set himself up, and it's very inconsistent, and his footwork isn't great. And his free throw, his 3-point percentage should probably be even lower than it is. So I think there's some
Which is
potential there, but it's
weird because he shot 80% from the free throw line.
yeah. So that tells you, right? He has some ability to work on his mechanics as a 3-point shooter, but yeah, it's just not consistent right now. So that can be changed. We've seen it done. It usually takes several seasons for that to happen. So, but yeah, it really bothers me honestly right now. It's like noticeably bad.
It is.
So, okay. I think that's it for strengths and weaknesses for right now. Ideal fits. He's another wing player that is going to go to one of these teams most likely in the late-ish lottery that are more looking to compete right now. Not to say that a team like the Thunder couldn't use him, because the Thunder can use everybody, but and they're kind of my standards, but Cleveland, Atlanta, Charlotte, kind of in that range there. I actually really like the fit with Cleveland. Like I said, I think they're missing something right there at the 3 right now. It's a team that was very improved defensively last year, and I think the kind of culture that they're building, he fits into really well. So I think the Cleveland fit would be interesting to me.
Yeah, I kind of like the Cleveland. Because looking at him and where he's gonna go, I see a lot of him going anywhere from 14 to early 20s, somewhere
Oh
in
gosh,
that.
if he goes 20 to the Spurs, I'll lose my mind, because that is what I want at number 20. If they take him at number 20, I will attempt a backflip.
I mean, he's the type of guy where I think he's a guy that could slip a little bit.
I hope he does.
I mean, I don't want I don't think we're gonna hear from you for a while if yeah, the first pair but yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the teams picking in that range. I mean, the Hawks the Hawks is the Hawks at 16 would be good. I mean, you look at like pretty much any of pretty much any of these teams picking in that range. Uh, I mean, the Hornets as well. I mean, and any of these teams really. But yeah, my number one team would probably be Atlanta. They kind of need that defensive presence. They needed a defensive presence ever since Trae Young got there. If we're being honest,
they're not great.
So Atlanta would probably be my number, and I mean they're picking at 16, so he very well could be there in that range for him.
Definitely. All right, so for some NBA comparisons, the one that I saw that I don't like, but I'm just going to say it anyway, was Marcus Morris. Not in love with that one, but
really, I had that down actually. Why don't you like that comparison?
I just think he has more upside than that, I guess. Okay. But I mean, maybe as a floor, I don't hate that. It doesn't bother me. And we haven't seen this guy play a ton, but a guy like Patrick Williams, I think, is a fairly good comparison. OG Anunoby from Toronto, another pesky defender over there. My favorite is, I mean, when I first saw him within maybe like the first 30 seconds, I thought of Jonathan Isaac, which people still forget about him because of his knee issues. But when he does, and when Jonathan Isaac was healthy, he was in contention to win Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he had that level of defensive ability, and I think that Tari Eason could have that kind of ability. So that's probably my favorite one, but I like Williams and Anunoby. Like I said, Marcus Morris isn't bad. It's just I hope for more than that.
Well, that's not a terrible floor, especially when you're picking in this range. I mean,
yeah.
Marcus Morris has been a very solid role player as a solid defender for seems like for 30 plus years now. So he's been in the league a while.
30, okay.
Not literally, but he's been around for a while.
How old do you think he is?
What, like probably like early 30s, like 32, 33 maybe.
Okay, all right. Because you made it sound like he was going to be like 50. Yeah, he's 32. So
okay,
you're fine. Okay,
so, yeah,
continue.
Like, Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit. I mean, to me, I mean, Marcus Morris is my best favorite comparison. Maybe simply
Dang.
because.
Because I
So
don't like it.
Maybe simply because. I mean, no, but because he's not my. As you can tell, he's not my type of player.
Well, come on.
He
Yeah,
doesn't.
only you would say I hate that he hustles. What the? Come on. Get out of here. Go home.
Hey, I did compare his motor to Russell Westbrook, and I love Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, but not in a good way.
But I mean, to me, the defense is only gonna really take him so far. Like it just doesn't. There's not enough. There's not enough there for me to really love because I don't really love defense. So what is there to love about it for me? No.
Well, you hate winning in championships, so that makes sense. You know,
So
the
you don't.
I just would like to point out to you that the two teams in the NBA Finals this year were the two teams that had the best defensive rating. I just want to point that out.
Oh, you do want to point that out?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Just doesn't matter that one team has the greatest shooter of all time.
Never heard of her. Okay, we're not. Who are we talking about? Oh, Tari Eason. Okay, yeah, I guess we're done with that. So,
Right.
that's it for Tari Eason. Welcome to my starting five for this year's NBA draft. I hope that means something to you. It doesn't, but that's okay. That's it for Tari Eason. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.